I think the first question I wanted to raise, Mr. Mogotsi, the investigations that you were conducting about Lieutenant General Mkwanazi, His Majesty the Zulu King, Misuzulu Kazwelithini, related to them being captured or working with the CIA. In your information, they work with them to what end? What is the objective? Why do they work with them? And maybe to explain the extent to which, in terms of your findings, their work for the CIA is succeeding or failing. And if it is failing, what are the reasons? If it is succeeding, what should be done to stop it? Yeah, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. As I've alluded, the case which was opened in Midrand by the 8 and the Prince Zulu, in the statement, the suspicions emanate from what they have written insofar as the Richards Bay Terminal was concerned. And they thought that now that in that statement, the coal may not be going to, because that coal was benefiting Israel so much. And according to that statement, this way I'm relying, is that they're being activated to serve those interests. And to say whether they are succeeding or failing, since those were just simple allegations that we wanted to verify, and I had even to go to Kenya, and I cannot give an answer whether they're succeeding or not. But the investigation was as a result of the statement that was written in the case that was open with that.
So they were intervening in the work that they were engaged on in terms of your information. You are saying that the coal that is is shipped out of Richards Bay, most of it, we are arguing that is intended to Israel. Is that what you are saying?
That's correct.
So when they were intervening, His Majesty and Lieutenant General Mkwanazi, intervening in order to do what? In order to make sure that the coal continues to be sent in big volumes to Israel, or intervening against the people who were intending to block that coal going to Israel.
Yeah.
And who were those people?
Yeah, what I've raised earlier was that even so, the same prince, they were in engagement. The intention from the discussion was that it seems the plan was to contract these Chinese to also utilize the terminal, as opposed to those that are in transporting to Israel. Now the conflict started there, and the case was precisely open because, according to them, the PKTT members or General Mkwanazi are sending a lot of police to harass them, to threaten them. And in those altercations, they'll keep making reference to the coal. Now the case were open 2 or 3 times in KZN, and the matters could not be investigated, matters gone anyway. That's how they got in touch through my handler to come and open case.
So what is the role of the king in that case? Because in your statement, you are making references to the fact that we know there is a litigation, a legal dispute relating to the Zulu kingdom. Now you are making references to the fact that the side of the Zulu family, if we were to put it that way, which is backing up Prince Smakate to become the king, got abused and harassed by PKTT members And you are saying that harassment is as a result of the loyalty of His Majesty King Mrs. Weltini to the Israelis.
No,
How do we connect that?
because these other ones, the intention was to do the contract through the Chinese.
Which one? The
The
Smagade.
Smagade.
They were going to be part of the contract with the
Contract with the
Chinese.
Chinese, and the power of the KZN provincial, like police, was influenced to harass them from making that decision. Now, if you check, I remember he was asked this question as to, do you have the authority to sign this contract, because there's the Majesty who could possibly sign on behalf of the kingdom. And he said that particular portion in terms of whatever belongs as part of his rights.
Yeah. You know, there's a line of discussion that Advocate Mwesa was following with you. And all of us, many of us, were keenly interested in your answers, but it was difficult really to get a proper explanation. So let me try and rephrase a part of that question. And I will give you an example. For instance, in your statement, on paragraph 103, you are making references to you assisting Mr. Matlala to open a case with SAPS in Soweto. But we also know, not from that paragraph, that Mr. Matlala made certain favors to you in terms of money, booking certain people. Now, what is not coming out very clear, which is what she was asking you to clarify. Why are you so cozy, very close to the extent that you acquire favors to the person that you are actually and effectively investigating because he is part of a particular criminal network in our country? How does one, in a simple term, explain that in a manner that can be understood by ordinary South Africans?
Thank you, Chair. First, I must emphasize, I do not believe Ket Matlala is a member of a particular, this big five and stuff. I don't believe. And the part where I assisted him, there's nothing to do with his criminality or anything. He was harassed by the members of the PKTT. According to him, he opened the case in Brooklyn, could not be registered. The paragraph said, then I activated my handler that if he comes to Soweto, he should open the case, and that's what happened. And then the part that you're investigating a person and he funded this thing of the January 8. You know, I so wish there was probably a situation where they say Matlala gave me a subcontract, or he gave me he gave me something to benefit directly myself and my family and business. So if there are a list of people coming to Cape Town, having a celebration, the money coming through, channeled through me, now it's like the money came to me. And it may be wrong at the layman's thinking to say this man, even though he's being investigated, he actually insisted he wanted to buy a table that time, and he couldn't buy the table. And secondly, even the handler said he must not be involved with the minister, he must not come to the minister, and we stood by assisting the traveling and stuff. 148,000.
You are also saying in paragraph 104, Mr. Matlala told you that General Masemula as well as General Kele wanted to oust Minister Mkun. Did he explain for what purpose were they engaged in such?
No, he did not explain, Chairperson, but I believe even before this committee, he did mention that former Minister Begitele wanted a way to arrest Nzonkuno. He did speak, and that's what he told me. And he never gave information as to how are they going to do that.
Why did you not ask? Because I mean, somebody comes to you and share an information as negative as that one.
Yes.
Why would you decide to ignore making a follow-up question as to for what purpose?
It's not to ignore as such. You one would think, or former Bekitele now that there's no more here. That's the only reason he'll want to remove ministers.
No, but that can't be a rational explanation, Mr. Mogotsi, because ministers come and go.
Yeah.
We have no evidence that when ministers are removed or the term of office has ended,
Yeah.
all of them then queue up to plot some agenda to oust their predecessors, their successors.
There's
in fact.
successors, yes.
So we can accept as a rational conclusion on your part that I didn't ask this question because I knew that now that he's not coming back, he may be having a vengeance towards Mkhunu. He was not, Mkhunu was not appointed. I mean, Cele was not removed by Mkhunu. His term of office came to an end.
Yes.
And he did not come back to parliament. You are saying that as well in your own statement.
Yes.
And then somebody comes to you and say, there is a plot that is going on, and people who are engineering the plot is the chief of police in the country working with the former minister.
Yes.
Why would a responsible South African like you simply not ask a question, but to what extent? Because these things might have serious security implications to our country, to you, to your family, and everybody else. So why can't you ask a question? For what purpose?
Yeah, the difference is, as human beings, what you think, I'll never think, Honorable Member and Chairperson. If a person give me this information, obviously I will just let my handler know that there is this plot. Because he further spoke about making sure that General Sibia is out of the service. If I informed my handler, that's where I stopped, but I did not ask him, and I took it very serious to an extent that one will say, we'll see how will that happen. And you,
I mean, but Mogotsi, Mr. Mogotsi, you are from your own statement, and I'm going to come to that issue later to just to deal with it a bit. You have informed us that you were trained as part of the self-defense unit, which was almost something like a successor following the disbandment of the Umkhonto Sizwe. And surely, your level of consciousness about matters of security cannot be equivalent to mine, who was a pure civilian. Somebody comes to you and say, I have an information that the chief of police in this country is engaged in an agenda or a plot to oust a sitting minister of police. How does it become normal that you don't ask, where do you get that information and for what reason do you think they're engaged in that plot?
Yeah, Chairperson, if he says he heard it from former Minister Begitel, like I said, I did tell my handler. Obviously, he has informed the relevant people in handling that. Information as it comes, that's my job, is to make sure it reaches where it must go. And it's not that I was meeting Cat for the first or the last time. If that, I was happy that he came and he did say, former minister must give, said he must give me money so that they can arrest Minister Senzumkhulu. He said that, and nobody in the committee asked him to the same questions that you're asking. At least the person who told me, he was telling the same committee. Nobody asked him, but to which extent and why would you want to do that? Because at the time when you talk to somebody, it's not everything that the third person will think that will automatically comes to me. I may have a different approach to this as opposed to how an honorable member will expect me to.
No, we deal with what questions we pose to Mr. Matala, and whether in your own opinion, those questions were insufficient. We can deal with that maybe much more later. But the issue here is about you.
Yes.
Because when the interaction happened between you and Mr. Matala, you had no knowledge that at some point these matters may be ventilated before the ADHOC committee.
That's correct.
And me, I'm asking you about your frame of mind at that time.
Yes.
As a trained person in security. how should South African see you in the context of that? Remember, you are not an ordinary civilian who has had no exposure to a training, but you are being told by somebody. I have an information that the former minister is engaged in an agenda to oust the sitting minister and is working in cahoot with the National Commissioner of Police.
As long as
And then you just go away and say, I'm going to tell my handler, and then that's all.
I told my handler, that's why.
What did your handler say when you told him or her?
He'll handle it and he'll report it to the relevant.
So he didn't care about the details.
No, it's not that he didn't care. There are so many things that happened after that. That is why even when I came to Cape Town, I made sure that the handlers among the list of people who came with me in Cape Town during this thing of Matla, because we thought he was also coming, and he didn't come.
One of the observations I've made, Mr. Mogotsi, arising from your statement and your interaction here with the evidence leaders, is that the nature of your work then or today, I don't know whether you are no longer part of that, say what is crime intelligence operation, whatever the title that you have. But my sense is that the nature of the work you are engaged on relies a lot, that work relies a lot on misleading, telling lies, and also sometimes depend on what I call subterfuge. Subterfuge. Will I be wrong when I say, because you interact with Mr. Matlala in a particular way, you conceal certain information to him, you go and interact with somebody else, Lieutenant General Mkwanas, you go to other people, but the nature of your work means that you must be somebody that in your conduct has a capacity to tell lies, because you don't want people to know your actual motives. Am I wrong or right if I'm saying
You're
that?
correct.
I'm correct.
100%. Provided you report to the handler, and I'll give example. You cannot take papers and apply for a loan fraudulently and say I was on duty. You cannot drive police car marked because the police officer probably is sleeping or you have access.
Sure.
Because you say you are an agent.
Yeah.
It must be this legend building. It applies properly and must be reported.
Okay.
If there is a CIT to take place Friday, you talk to a handler, you activate the police, there will be someone involved, and this person will call himself Jabu. He will say he knows where to borrow the firearms. There comes me again. To tell my handler, they say they have to rent firearms. We need money to give them to rent firearms.
Yeah. So but in summary, you are agreeing with me that
yes,
the nature of your work,
yes,
it engages with the business of telling lies.
Yeah, but it's called creating a false life.
Okay.
Yes.
Should we therefore not be surprised in future as a committee if we discover that in your interaction with us, you also have falsified certain things? Should we depart from this city, understanding that in future we may discover, because I mean the people you have been engaging with and falsifying information only happen to discover that situation through the Majanga Commission, and I'm sure it's validated by your appearance before us.
Yes.
So I'm saying, what could be the reasons for us not to believe that tomorrow, which may not be just a day after today, but tomorrow in a sense of the future,
yes,
we're likely to discover that some of the assertions you have shared with us are not factually correct and they are not true, the nature of your work?
It cannot happen like that. This is not an operation. This is now an appearance where you take an oath.